Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. In this podcast, I'll be previewing NHL Free Agency and making predictions on where free agents might sign. In this podcast, I'll be previewing NHL Free Agency and making predictions on where free agents might sign. John Tavares is 34 now and turns 35 in September. He's coming off a season in which he had 38 goals and 74 points. He's re-signed in Toronto for 4 more years with an annual cap hit of $4.38 million. He would have been one of the most sought after centers on the market had he hit the market. Sam Bennett is 29, coming off a postseason where he led all NHL players in goals with 15 and won the Conn Smythe, helping Florida win their second straight Stanley Cup. Bennett is close to a contract extension with Florida, but should they not agree on an extension, teams like the Chicago Blackhawks, Vegas Golden Knights, and Boston Bruins could swoop in. Claude Giroux is 37 and is coming off a season where he had 50 points in 81 games. He and the Senators are far apart on contract talks, and if they can't come to an agreement, a return to Philadelphia would make sense. Mikael Granlund finished the season in Dallas last season after being acquired from San Jose and recorded 10 points in 18 games during the postseason, playing alongside fellow countrymen Roope Hintz and Mikko Rantanen. While Dallas would like to re-sign him, it is highly unlikely due to cap constraints. He is seeking a multi-year deal in the range of $4.5 to $5.5 million per season. Teams like Toronto, St. Louis, and Montreal all have interest in Granlund. Mitch Marner is set to be a top free agent on the market. Mitch Marner is set to be the top free agent on the market this offseason, coming off a year where he had 102 points in 81 games, which was 5th in the NHL. He will be a highly sought-after player in free agency, and the top suitors for him include the Vegas Golden Knights, LA Kings, and Carolina Hurricanes, with Vegas being the frontrunner for him. Brock Boeser is coming off a season where he only had 25 goals and 50 points, but the season before, he had a career-best 40 goals and 73 points, so it'll be interesting to see what he commands on the open market. He is expected to command between $8 to $8.5 million per season on a 5 to 6 year deal. Boeser will have many suitors, but he best fits on a team like the Ottawa Senators, Minnesota Wild, and LA Kings. Brad Marchand completely revitalized his career after a move to Florida after the trade deadline, in which he finished runners-up for the Conn Smythe Trophy. Marchand has expressed his desire to stay in Florida. However, he is seeking a short-term deal worth $8 to $8.5 million per season. If Florida doesn't re-sign Marchand, look for a team like Toronto or LA to be in the mix to sign him. Nikolai Ehlers is 29, coming off a year where he had 24 goals and 63 points in 69 games. He is set to test the market, and among the top suitors for him are the Montreal Canadiens, New Jersey Devils, and Seattle Kraken. A sign-and-trade is a possibility if Winnipeg wants to recoup assets before July 1st. Patrick Kane is a 36 and is a future Hall of Famer, coming off a year in which he had 21 goals and 59 points in 72 games with Detroit. Insiders suggest that Kane will stay with Detroit on a multi-year deal in the $4 to $5 million range. Aaron Ekblad is the top free agent defenseman on the market after helping Florida win back-to-back cups. He is the top pair anchor alongside Gustav Forsling. However, cap constraints could restrict Florida from retaining his service. Although if Ekblad wants to stay in Florida, there are teams in the NHL that are in desperate need of a top pair defenseman that will overpay for him, like the San Jose Sharks, Columbus Blue Jackets, and Ottawa Senators. Ivan Provorov is set to hit free agency as a 28-year-old top 4 defenseman. Although his numbers aren't anything special, he is a workhorse on the back end and plays in all situations. Provorov will command between $6.5 and $7.25 million per season on a 5 to 6 year deal. Expect a team like Detroit, LA, or New York Rangers to be in on the mix. Vladislav Gavrikov is a 29-year-old defenseman coming off a solid year with the LA Kings, in which he was a career-high plus 26. He will be a highly sought-after free agent and is expected to command between $7 to $7.5 million on a 5 to 6 year deal. Teams like the New York Rangers, Detroit Red Wings, the Utah Mammoths, and Buffalo Sabres should be the top suitors to land him. Dmitry Orlov is set to hit the market again, this time as a 33-year-old veteran defenseman, and will be looking for a long-term contract from a contender. He is still a reliable number 3 or 4 defenseman. Expect teams like Buffalo or LA to make a run for him. Dante Fabro emerged as a top 4 defenseman last season, being paired alongside Zach Werenski in Columbus, averaging over 21 minutes of ice time and was plus 23. He is expected to be a highly sought after free agent because he is 27 and still has room to grow. He will demand between $5 to $6 million per season on a long-term deal. Expect teams like Buffalo and Utah to be in on him if he does not re-sign with Columbus. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. Brent Burns is going to have to take a steep pay cut from his previous deal. The 40-year-old right-handed defenseman provides veteran leadership and is a steady presence on the back end. He will likely get a 1-year deal that is bonus loaded from a contending team. Ryan Lindgren is a 27-year-old defenseman that is reliable defensively and is a great penalty killer. The issue is signing him to a long-term contract is a risk due to his rugged play style, and players like him are prone to injuries more. Lindgren is reportedly looking for a 3 to 4 year deal at $3.5 to $4.2 million per season. Look for teams like Calgary and Columbus to be in on him. After signing a 1-year prove-it deal with Pittsburgh, Matt Grzelcyk is back on the market. This time, he will be seeking a bigger contract, likely a 3-year deal in the ballpark of $3.8 million per season. A team like Florida could be a suitor to sign him should Aaron Ekblad leave in free agency. At 26 years old, Henri Jokiharju is still in his prime and will have plenty of suitors due to his versatility and potentially cap-friendly contract, reportedly for 3 years, $3 million per season. Cody Ceci is a veteran defenseman that is still valuable to teams seeking a reliable shutdown defenseman. He will likely get a 1 to 2 year deal worth between $2.5 to $3 million per season. The best fits for him are Detroit and Columbus. Nate Schmidt signed for league minimum with Florida after a buyout from Winnipeg and helped Florida win a Stanley Cup. He could fetch a 2-year deal worth around $2 million per season from a team like Ottawa or Seattle if he doesn't return to Florida. Brian Dumoulin is a veteran defenseman who also happens to be a 2-time Stanley Cup champion and could be a valuable piece for a team pushing for a playoff spot like the Flames or Predators. Tony DeAngelo is just 29 and is a third-pair defenseman and power play specialist. He is likely to get a short-term, low-cost deal with a team like San Jose, Utah, or Boston. Nick Perbix played under 15 minutes per game with Tampa Bay in 24-25, but is one of the youngest right-shot UFA defensemen in a thin 2025 class of defensemen, which boosts his value. Perbix could fetch a 2-year deal at $2.5 million per season from a team like Anaheim or Buffalo. Andrei Kuzmenko had an up-and-down year last season, which saw him get traded twice. He was below average with both Calgary and Philly, but with LA, he was highly productive, especially on the power play, so it's highly possible he returns to LA. However, LA has a lot on their plate this offseason, so if they pass on re-signing him, look for a team like Columbus or Minnesota to be in on him. Jonathan Drouin is a veteran winger who had back-to-back productive seasons in Colorado, but likely will not be back due to cap constraints. Multiple teams will be in on Drouin, such as the Vegas Golden Knights and LA Kings. Jamie Benn re-signed in Dallas for 1 year at $1 million with bonuses that can reach $3 million. Benn is the longtime captain of the Stars and took a significant discount to stay. Trent Frederick re-signed in Edmonton for 8 more years at $3.85 million per season. He is a versatile forward who can play in all situations and all 3 forward positions, but his production dropped from 40 points in 23-24 to just 15 in 24-25. Edmonton is banking on Frederick bouncing back to his 23-24 form. Gustav Nyquist is a 35-year-old Swedish winger who dropped off tremendously from his 23-24 form and is seeking a one-year deal from a team looking to make a playoff push, like the New Jersey Devils or Seattle Kraken. Andrew Mangiapane is a 29-year-old winger who had a down year with only 28 points due to limited playing time in Washington. However, due to his prior production, he will likely fetch a 3-year deal somewhere worth $4 to $5 million per season with a team like the Islanders, Predators, or Toronto. Mason Appleton is a 29-year-old checking line winger who could be a valuable asset for a contender who could try to steal him away from Winnipeg. If he doesn't re-sign with Winnipeg, look for a team like the Ottawa Senators to swoop in and steal him. Brandon Saad re-signed with Vegas for another year. He will be a solid depth forward with veteran leadership and playoff experience. Evgeny Dadonov is a 36-year-old winger who had a bounce-back year with Dallas. He could look to sign a team-friendly deal to stay with Dallas, or if he wants to win a Stanley Cup, he could return to Florida, where he started his career. James Van Riemsdyk is a 36-year-old winger who had a solid year in Columbus. However, he is more of a power play specialist at this point in his career. For teams with cap constraints, he could be a solid pickup. Think of a team like Colorado or Toronto. If Corey Perry does not retire, the 40-year-old winger could be a valuable veteran presence on a contending team, such as Colorado. Connor Brown has earned himself a nice contract this free agency period. He was a valuable part of Edmonton the past 2 seasons and is a great depth player. Look for a team like Vegas, Carolina, or Columbus to be in on Brown. Anthony Beauvillier is a 28-year-old winger who had a resurgence with Washington during the postseason after bouncing around the NHL. A return to Washington is possible, but also look for the Canadiens to be in on the mix. Taylor Radish is a 27-year-old winger who happens to be a really good fourth-line winger. Look for him to land a 2-year deal with a team like Montreal or Seattle if he doesn't return to Washington. Tanner Jeannot is a rugged winger who had struggled to find consistency with Tampa Bay and LA after his Nashville days, but will still be a sought-after player in free agency due to his size and physical play. Look for a team like New Jersey or Ottawa to be in on Jeannot. Victor Olofsson is a 29-year-old winger who had a mini resurgence with Vegas. He could be a good addition to a team in need of depth goal scoring and power play production. If he does not re-sign with Vegas, a team like New Jersey and Columbus could be in the mix to sign him. Justin Brazeau is a big 6'5" winger who had 10 goals with the Bruins before being traded to Minnesota. He is a solid fourth-line winger who will be seeking a 1-year deal with a team like Utah or Anaheim. Max Pacioretty is a 36-year-old winger who is a shell of the player he once was after his injuries. But after the playoffs in which he had 8 points in 11 games, he proved he can still be a solid depth piece on a contending team like Florida or Colorado if he doesn't re-sign with Toronto. Brandon Tanev is a rugged, high-energy winger who is a coach's dream and would be a fit on many contending teams, but the best fit is the Toronto Maple Leafs, who also happen to employ his brother Chris. Justin Danforth is a versatile forward who plays both center and wing and is a good penalty killer. He is a good low-cost depth forward and his preferred destination is Columbus, but Montreal is also a possibility. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywithtalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywith777. Pius Suter is a 29-year-old center who is capable of playing all 4 positions and kills penalties. He is looking for a 4-year deal at $4.75 million per season. A team like New Jersey could use a third-line center to play behind Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. Jack Roslovic is a versatile third-line forward who plays center and wing. He rebounded well with Carolina after a down year split between Columbus and New York Rangers in 23-24. Roslovic is looking to fetch a 3-year deal worth $3.5 million per season. Look for a team like Vancouver to sign him if Carolina doesn't retain him. Christian Dvorak is a third-line center who is good on face-offs and contributes on special teams. He is expected to be targeted by teams who need a third-line center and don't have much cap space, as he could be willing to sign a team-friendly deal. Adam Gaudette is a 28-year-old forward who just had 19 goals with the Senators, but his 21% shooting is unsustainable. He could fetch a 2-year deal from teams in need of depth scoring in their bottom 6. Lars Eller is a 36-year-old fourth-line center, but is very reliable on faceoffs and is a good defensive center. He will be targeted by teams in need of a fourth-line center and strong faceoff men like the Chicago Blackhawks. Nick Bjugstad has seen his production drop year by year, but he could still be a valuable fourth-line center on contending teams in need of depth down the middle. Radek Faksa is a fourth-line center who can be trusted with D-zone faceoffs and matches up against top players. A return to St. Louis is possible, but if he doesn't re-sign in St. Louis, look for a team like Anaheim or Toronto to be in on the mix. Jake Allen enters free agency as arguably the top free agent goalie on the market, but at 34, I don't know if any team is going to be willing to give him what he's seeking, $5 million per season on a multi-year deal. A team like the San Jose Sharks could make a strong run for Jake Allen. Dan Vladar is a 27-year-old Czech netminder who is going to be the top free agent goalie available due to a combination of age and unfulfilled potential. Although he could still return to Calgary, it is highly unlikely as they already have their goalie of the future in Dustin Wolf. So look for a team like New Jersey, Ottawa, or Edmonton to swoop in and steal him away from Calgary. Ilya Samsonov is coming off a prove-it deal with Vegas and had solid stats for a backup. Although not a starter anymore, he could be a solid 1B for a contending team or a team like the New York Islanders, who need a backup to Ilya Sorokin. Alexander Georgiev is coming off a rough season split between Colorado and San Jose, so that severely hurts his free agency stock. Expect a short-term prove-it deal with a team like the Anaheim Ducks, Philadelphia Flyers, or New Jersey Devils. David Rittich had a great season as the backup to Darcy Kemper in LA. He'll likely seek a short-term deal with a contending team. Anton Forsberg was quietly effective as the backup goalie to Linus Ullmark in Ottawa and will be a solid option for a contending team looking for a backup. Alex Lyon was quietly very consistent the past 2 seasons in Detroit and is expected to land a 1-year deal as a backup, whether it's in Detroit or with another team. James Reimer is a 37-year-old backup goalie who will seek an opportunity to be a part of a contending team and could even take a league minimum deal if it means a chance to win a Stanley Cup. Vitek Vanacek had a turbulent season splitting the year between San Jose and Florida. Even though he won the cup with Florida, he didn't see much playing time there, and so he will have to seek a prove-it deal with a team like Buffalo or one of the bottom feeders. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. It will be very interesting to see where all these pending free agents end up between now and July 1st. It's possible a few of the top free agents will get retained by their current teams, as seen by the likes of John Tavares, Jamie Benn, Trent Frederick, and some others. In my next podcast, I'll be doing a podcast on the NHL Free Agency.